Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Find My Pasture Home. It's time for Fridays Live, isn't it, Liam?
It is indeed. It is indeed that time of the week.
It is. Welcome, everybody. We hope you've had a good week, even though the news leaves a little bit to be desired, and our thoughts are with everybody in Ukraine at the moment. But what we're going to do today, we're going to have some hopefully light-hearted family history fun. It is Liam's first Fridays Live. How are you feeling about that, Liam?
Nervous, but happy to be here. Happy to have been asked to step in. I know I've got big boots to fill, but I'll do my best.
You will do an amazing job, and our community are wonderful. And if you are a regular viewer, please do comment, say where you're tuning in from today. What have you been up to? How's your week been? And if you're brand shiny new, we want to hear from you as well. How are you getting on this week? Tell us a little bit about yourself. My name is Ellie. I run social media for Find My Past. It is a job I love, and I thought it'd be really nice with it being Liam's first Fridays Live this week for him to reintroduce himself a little bit to you guys. Because if you've ever got in touch with our customer support team, you've probably already spoken to him. So, Liam, I will allow you to introduce yourself.
Yeah, so my name is Liam. I work in the customer support team here. I've worked for Find My Past since October 2018, so coming on quite a while now. Based in Dundee, City of Discovery, and yeah, happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, it's really nice actually. When we were thinking about who we could get to step in after Alex left, and we had some discussions, and you were top of the list. So that was really good. So it's really good that you said yes to this, and we have such a lovely community. And look, you can just look at some of the comments already, Liam. Actually, everybody's really, really happy to see you. Look, got Kim with us today. Hi, Kim. We've got Victoria. Sally made it, even though it was a mad rush. Yes,
commitment.
We like to see. We don't like to see the mad rush. We like to see that you made it, though.
She's powered through.
Exactly. Anita says hi. Hi, Anita. Hope you're well. I've got Tracy with us. Look, Andrew says welcome. Look, I told you everybody was lovely. We've got Janet from a damp North Wales, land of my fathers. Just saying. Lovely, lovely. So many of you here today, which is really, really nice. Now, I forgot to do a banner for Question of the Week, which is very, very remiss of me. But the question of the week, if you haven't got your answer for this in yet, it is, which of your female ancestors would you give a medal to and why? Because it is Women's History Month. It is International Women's Day on Tuesday. I think it's Tuesday. So that's really, really exciting. So yeah, and in terms of what we're going to do today, we're going to do some new records. Liam and I are going to go through those together. Liam has prepared a short demonstration for you, and a tutorial, if you will. Why don't you tell everybody what you're going to be chatting about today?
So it is one of my favourite features of the website, arguably one of the most helpful features, the All Record Sets page.
Yeah, it's really cool, isn't it? I love All Record Sets page.
Oh, it's my best friend.
It's my best friend. Hands off. It's my best friend. And then I am going to look at some trade union records, because we do release new records all the time. And sometimes it's easy to forget that we have millions of them. And I think sometimes it's good to have a little bit look back at what we already have and refresh everybody's memories, and also refresh my memory as well, because sometimes I forget these things there as well. Rose is in the comments with us today, everybody. So if you do have any questions for Rose, please do add them in, and she will shepherd any to us as well. Liam, a little birdie told me that you were giving a talk at Roots Tech this year.
I was indeed. Another honour to have been asked by our esteemed colleague Jen to take part in Roots Tech this year. So yeah, that is live and running on the website right now.
Yeah, so you can, if you've already registered for Roots Tech, it is free to do on the Roots Tech website. And you can check out so many different sessions from various different genealogy providers, societies, professionals. There is so much to explore. And the Find My Past talks and sessions are just a very small portion of those. But yeah, Liam's doing one, and Jen and Aoife and Paul and Brian, all of that team. We've even got, I think, some people from our product team as well, haven't we?
Yeah, I think Carrie Ann's got a couple. So yeah, all the big names.
All the big names, exactly. So yeah, why don't we crack on with some new records? And I think I'm going to do the records and you're going to do the newspapers.
Mm-hmm.
Fantastic. So if you didn't know already, I mean, and if you didn't, have you been living under a rock? We are the only family history website to add new records every single week. And it's not just records, we also add newspapers. They're pretty cool as well. And this week, because it is Women's History Month, we've added a really, really cool new record set, which is the Quaker Women's Petition of 1659. And I do have some slides, which I will add in just a moment, but a little bit of background. So at this time, so all the way back in 1659, the Quakers were quite often shunned, okay? Official religious tolerance wouldn't actually come in for another 30 odd years. And in 1659, there was a rumour that the Rump Parliament was going to abolish tithes, okay? And a tithe is a tax to the church. At this point, it would have been the Church of England. And the Quakers didn't like paying their tithes because why should they? It wasn't their church. So what they did when they heard this rumour, that a whole host of women, there's about 7,000 women, signed a petition in support of the abolition of the tithes. And at the time, anybody who actually refused to pay the tithe could be imprisoned because, I said, lack of religious tolerance and freedom to worship. So let's go and have a look at some of these. I'll just add my slides in. There we go. This is somebody I searched for. But in any case, these are from the Historical Society of Pennsylvania. And absolutely go them for standing up for the right of freedom for worship in a time that just wasn't tolerant, and in a time where you don't actually see women being in records much other than their vital records. So this is a really, really rare opportunity to see a female ancestor from hundreds of years ago. You can get their name, you can get their location, and it's all on an official document. As I said, we don't see this very often. Be aware with these, the locations are actually coded. Okay, and when I say, you'll see this in a moment, I think I did include a copy of the original. Yes, I think I did in my slides. In any case, the locations are coded. So for example, the location K2 is Essex, Q is Gloucestershire. Gloucestershire? Why do I think I've mispronounced that, Liam? Why do I think I've mispronounced it?
Too many C's and T's. Those ones are always awkward.
Oh, I'm turning into Jen. I love you, Jen. If you're watching, I love you, Jen. Okay. So yes, there is actually a list of all the coded occupations on the search page. So just make sure you scroll down for those, and you can find that from our What New blog. So I had a look at swans because I have Scottish swans in my family tree, but these are mainly English, the women on this in this record set. So I found a record for a Susan Swan, and the transcript tells me that it was location code K, which is Essex, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire, and Huntingdonshire. I then did a really, really broad search of Susan Swans around that time. So I did 40 years either side to see if I could find like a birth or like a marriage or like a death record, because that's going to be what I would find for a woman back then. But in any case, I did just want to show you what the originals look like. And I've just pointed Susan Swan out there. And as you can see, you get the names and you get the location codes. Oh no, I didn't put my other one in. I think I've missed a slide. But yes, in any case, I then went to see what else I could find out about this Susan Swan. And I did think I found a marriage record for her in 1669, marrying a chap called Thomas Shortland in Essex. And in particular, because the place on this marriage record was listed as Friends, as in the Religious Society of Friends, as in the official name for the Quakers. Possibly. We don't know, because I think by this, at this point back in, in 1669, they wouldn't have had their own records because they wouldn't have been allowed them yet. The Quaker records themselves came much, much later, I believe. Somebody may correct me on that. So yes, those are those. And then the other record set we've got is, we've got 4 new cemeteries into the Lincolnshire burials. We've got about 500,000 records for these. Have you got any Lincolnshire ancestors, Liam?
I don't think I do. No, there's some English on my mum's side, but it's not a part of the tree I've delved into too much, to be honest. But Lincolnshire hasn't come up yet, no.
I don't think I've got any either. But in any case, these 4 new cemeteries include Horncastle. I'm going to say Louth. Someone's going to say I've pronounced that wrong because I probably have. Bourne, and also Great Grimsby. And you've got, in this record set, you've got sort of a mixture of burial registers and interment lists. You can find things like names, ages, gender, birth year, burial date, the church, sometimes their residence, sometimes their marital status, sometimes their grave number, and very often who performed the ceremony as well. So there's lots of rich sort of biographical detail that you can grab from these. Most of them are transcript and original image. And what do we always say? Check the original image. And I did just want to show you a super early example, actually, because they do date back quite a way. This is from 1595. And I really struggled to read this. I actually had to use the tools on the Find My Past image viewer to adjust the brightness and the contrast a bit. This was the best I could get it because it was super, super hard to read. And I can just about pick out, I think, at the bottom, I think it's Catherine Smythe, or Smith, I can pull out. So yeah, then let's have a look at a different one. So I went and had a look at this. This is a record for Amy Kate. She was born in 1875. Sadly, she also died in 1875. So this was her burial record, and it tells me that she was actually buried on the 5th of May. So yeah, she was 3 months old, which was really, really sad, actually. And then, you know what I'm like? I had to go and find out more. Did I fall down a rabbit hole? A little bit. Liam, you will find this actually when you're prepping for these sessions, is that you'll just fall down rabbit holes all the time.
I was bad enough with the newspapers.
Oh, we've all got all of that to come yet, haven't we? Looking forward to that. Okay, so what else did I find out about little Amy Kate? So I had to go and find her baptism because I wanted to go and find out who her parents were. I found her baptism here, which was also in Lincolnshire. This is in the Lincolnshire baptisms, and her parents, I think, have I cut off her parents? Oh no, that's the original for her burial, excuse me. Her parents were Richard and Elizabeth, and although she was born on the 16th of January, she wasn't baptized until the April, and then she died in the May. So that's that, and the original tells me that her father was a joiner. So there we go. And then I wanted to find out more, but there was nothing. There was nothing else about this family in Lincolnshire. I couldn't find Richard and Elizabeth's marriage. I couldn't find any other children. I couldn't find them on the census records. So I was a little bit annoyed. But then I said, let's just broaden the search, because I think, Liam, I don't know whether you agree, sometimes if you're searching quite narrowly, you can miss things.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
So what I did then was I widened the location radius, and I actually got some results for Walsingham in Norfolk. And I think I put a slide for this as well. So here we go. So what I did was I searched for baptisms with Richard as the father and Elizabeth as the mother. And we've got that top one for Amy Kate, the only one in Lincolnshire. But then I've also got all of these in Walsingham in Norfolk. And there is a little bit of a gap. So we've got, so I think that she was the first one born. And then you've got Henry Samuel in 1876. So it's not, I'm not sure. It could be the same family. It could not be the same family. They may have travelled for work. In 1875, they could have been visiting relatives. They could have been on holiday, and then they stuck around because maybe little baby Amy Kate wasn't a very healthy baby, and they thought it's not a very good idea to move at this point. We don't know. Because initially I did think, could she have been illegitimate? But if that was the case, why would both parents be recorded on the baptism. And normally illegitimate births are actually quite easy to spot. But this is the family anyway on the 1881 census. And yeah, we do have a bit of a gap between, we've got Louisa and we've got Henry there as well. So it could be the same family. We don't know. And I think that's my last slide. Yes, it is. I will remove my slides. What do we... Oh, I removed Liam by accident. That's very nice of me.
Try to get rid of me already.
What do we think to the new records then, Liam? Will you be having a look at these over the weekend?
Definitely the same. Lincolnshire's not one that's come up yet, but I'll need to have another look at the family tree. And yeah, the Quaker ones look really good as well. So no, definitely be something to dive into over the weekend.
I really wanted to find an overthrow in the Quaker records, but there wasn't any.
Is that always your go-to, like when a new record comes out?
Yeah, funnily enough, it is. Wonderful. Okay, should we go back to the comments a little bit before we move on to newspapers? Do you want to see if there's any cool comments that are standing out?
What have we got? Got Karen. Her family is from Lincolnshire, Horncastle. So that's some good reading for Karen over the weekend there.
Fantastic.
What have we got there? Yeah, some nice comments. A nice shout out for Lincolnshire Family History Society. Some good, yeah, a lot of people seem to have Lincolnshire. Rose has Lincolnshire ancestors, so we know what she'll be doing over the weekend.
Lovely. Oh, good question here from Sally, actually. What is Roots Tech? And, oh, goodness, how do you even answer this question? It's basically the biggest family history conference in the world, I would say. Did you ever go to one, Liam?
I didn't know. I think it was slightly too early to get a trip to Utah or anything like that. So, no, I didn't get to go to one in the end.
Yeah, because it's not normally in normal times, Sally. Roots Tech is held in Salt Lake City in Utah. And I had the privilege of going in 2019 when I was in the customer support team. And it was wonderful. So there's all sorts of talks and sessions that go on, and they usually have keynote speakers. And it's just a way for sort of everybody to come and connect. And I can see Rose has kindly shared a link to where you can learn more about Roots Tech there. And it's been online for the past 2 years, I think, this year and last year.
Mm-hmm.
I think we just had it in person before the pandemic started, I believe, in 2020.
That'd be right, actually, yeah.
Fantastic. Liam, over to you for newspapers. What's new this week?
Newspapers. So heaps of new... Oh,
carry on.
Over there, I'll let Ellie deal with that. So heaps of new newspapers, as always. I'm not going to run through the full list of titles and years because I'll be here till Sunday morning with you all. And as fun as that sounds, I would like to let you enjoy your weekend. So run through some highlights. So if you got ancestors in Wales, as I know Ellie will be very excited about, some new Welsh titles. We've got the Welsh Gazette has been added. There's updates to the... apologies in advance for the pronunciation, the Merthyr Express. Is that good? You know, when you search on Google, you can hit play and they tell you how to pronounce things. So I had a wee look at that earlier on. Got the Merthyr Express, titles from Up and Down England, Birmingham News, Woolwich Herald, Macclesfield Express, Harrow Informer. Of course, it'd be amiss if I didn't mention the Scottish titles as well. We've got the Oban Telegraph, Weekly Scotsman, and the Scottish Border Record. And Scottish Border Record is one. I thought I'd have a look through one, just flick through for things, because I'm a sucker for newspapers. I get stuck into things and just start reading about all sorts. And it's not as intellectual, perhaps, as Ellie's family history research there, but I did find a nice little story that someone wrote in about a toad. So I'll read you a wee excerpt here. It said, the guy wrote in and said, having noticed a paragraph in your paper of a live toad being found in limestone, I let you know that 50 years ago I saw a toad found in a clog, which had long been used to carry a blacksmith's anvil. The piece of tree had been split up for firewood, and near the centre there was a nest about the size of an orange. In the nest he must have had a noisy time of it and heard many a funny story. And he went on to describe in great detail about what the toad had been eating, how many courses that had. One time he saw it have 30 desserts, apparently, in the form of insects and Mother Earth, as the guy put it. And one thing I really liked is that at one point in the story, he referred to the toad as his toadship, which I just really liked. I won't finish the story. It got a bit grim in the end, dissection and things like that. But
Fair.
I thought it was a nice little, this is what I do. Open a newspaper, my eyes get drawn to something. Next thing, I've lost 20 minutes reading about toads.
It happens so often. And I think you're in good company here, Liam, as well. I think we all do that.
Yeah. You know what it's like. You're looking for an ancestor, a story about a toad catches your eye. Hours are gone.
I used to find when I worked in customer support, if anybody emailed in with a research query, I really wanted to help them solve it. Like, really wanted to. I don't know if you're the same.
Yeah, definitely. But then things like that, I start looking in newspapers or just get sidetracked. I get so much, but no, you can delve right into stuff.
Absolutely. Yes, lots more chat about Roots Tech here as well. So live videos are up for about a year because the conference itself is actually on, started yesterday, finishes tomorrow. But that's all for sort of the live thingamajigs. All the recorded sessions you can watch for up to a year, which is really, really cool. And it is free. If I didn't mention that already, it is all free, which is really, really nice. Okay. Yes, a toad has stolen the show for once. Yeah, why not,
You never know what you're going to get.
No, you don't. What's the thing Miko used to say about you only needing the edge of your seat? I can't remember.
You pay for your whole seat, but you only need the edge of it.
That was it. That's all you need with Fridays Live, especially when you've got two hosts.
I really like Linda's comment here as well. Not so much a rabbit hole as a toad in the hole. When we were talking about rabbit holes earlier, there was a joke formulating in my head and I just couldn't get it out in time, Linda. So I'm glad you're sharper than me.
Oh, fantastic. Oh, and William's saying about newspapers as well. They're so useful. You can find things like hidden passenger lists, family trees. Yes, you can. You can sometimes find whole genealogies, especially if your ancestor was a little bit more well-to-do. Really, really handy. Honestly, they're just... Suddenly it's midnight and you haven't had dinner, Anywho, you've actually prepared a wee tutorial for everybody, haven't you?
I have indeed. Let me share my screen. And if I can find the tab on this side of things, we'll be doing much better. So, can everyone see in the Find My Past homepage at the moment, yeah?
Yeah.
Good stuff. I can't actually see myself or the comments at the moment, so if anything's going awry, you're going to need to shout me.
I will, don't worry. On you go.
Thank you. So today, as I said, we're going to talk about the All Record Sets page, something I hope many of you are using already. And if that's the case, do let us know any success stories you've had or any feedback, things you think we could improve on using that. But we're going to run through a few things and show just how useful this can be. So we all know there's a few different ways you can go in and search records. You'll have your search all record sets here. You can go to search at the top of the page, choose your category. Say I was going to search a census. I could click that and be taken to this page here, choosing my subcategory for census again. And I get the usual search options, first name, last name, year of birth, location, etc. But there are going to be instances where you're going to need something a little bit extra to be able to find your ancestors. If you're looking for a very common name or one that's very popular in a particular area, you might need a little more options there to try and narrow your search. And that's something you can do from the All Record Sets page. So to get to it, you just need to click Search at the top of the page and choose All Record Sets from the middle. And what we're taken to then is a full searchable list of every record set that's available on Find My Past. So in this example, I was going to be looking for a census, say 1901. So in the search box at the top, I'm going to pop in 1901. And we've got 1901 Wales, England, Wales and Scotland census. So first glance, very similar to what we had before in terms of first name, last name, year of birth, location. But if we start scrolling down the list slightly, you'll start seeing more search options appear, ones that can really help you narrow that down. Something I find particularly helpful is the birth county, for example. So you can use things like that. You've got occupation, house name, street, if any of that information is known. Another little thing you can do here, even if you're not doing family history necessarily, if you're doing a bit of social history, a bit of local history, like I say, you've got occupation in there and you can search for anything along those lines. And I'd say that's a few more search options that will help you really narrow those results down. But there's a few cool other things about the All Record Sets page. So if we jump back to the All Record Sets, as well as this search box at the top of the page, you'll notice we've also got the where box on the left-hand side. So quite a common question that we get in customer services is, do you have records from this country, say Italy, for example? And the best way of finding it out, why this is my best friend, is because you can use this box. If I type Italy in there and choose it from the drop down, automatically I get a list of all the record sets that cover Italy. You've got baptisms, Italians to America, marriages, deaths and burials. And I could click on any of them to search, just like I did with the census. As well as a country, I could also put a town or a county in there as well. So we'll clear Italy out there and we'll go for Yorkshire as an example. Type Yorkshire in there, and then I get a list of all the record sets which cover Yorkshire. So there'll be specific ones like the Yorkshire baptisms, burials, marriages. You will find the censuses and the birth, marriage and deaths which cover Yorkshire in here too. And if I wanted to go further down, say I had Yorkshire ancestors who I knew were there in the early part of the 1700s, as well as typing in the location, I could also use the when box to pop in a year range of say 1700, 1750. And that then shows me all the record sets which cover Yorkshire in that time period. So that could open up some new avenues. Like Ellie said before, there's so much on the website, you just don't know what's out there sometimes. So that's a really good way of finding what you might be able to find, what's out there, what you might be able to find for your ancestors. Final little bits to show, we'll go for Yorkshire baptisms as an example for this. So the search page for this is much and such what you'd expect through the usual search, birth, marriage and death option. But if we scroll down the page slightly, you'll see we've got this learn about these records section. So in here, you'll find information like what can these records tell me, some information you would typically expect to find in the transcriptions that you're looking for. If we scroll down slightly more, you've got discover more about Yorkshire baptism registers, some nice little history about your baptisms in the area, more information there. And quite often as well, something I really like is you'll get little stories about people who have been found in these records. So for example, you've got Harry Wright here. He was baptised on the 10th of May, 1835 in St. Peter and St. Paul Cathedral, and he can be found in those record sets. So it's nice little stories about famous people that you might be able to find in the records. And the last little bit to show you, which is again is something you can access through the All Records and the search page. If I scroll back up slightly, you'll see we've also got useful links and resources. So that'll link you to similar record sets like the Yorkshire Bands, marriages, burials, monumental inscriptions. But at the top of the list, you've got your Yorkshire Parish Records parish list. And if I click on this, the page will load in. Page loads and scroll down slightly. And what you've got is an A to Z list of every place covered in these records including the earliest record and the latest record, and how many records are found therein. So if I had ancestors in Ackworth in the mid-1800s, there's a good chance I'm going to be able to find them in that record set, because I know that's covered by the parish list. So yeah, that is the all record sets page.
Amazing.
Share in, figure this out. I'm back in the room. So yeah, as I said, I hope that's something that many of you are using already. But if not, I hope that it opens up some new avenues for you. You can get stuck back in.
It's a brilliant little resource, actually. And as you've just demonstrated, you can use it for so many different things. You can use it to search one particular record set to get more search fields. You can use it to find out more about a particular record set. You can use it to see which locations are included. And also, little tip, if you do ever open up things like the parish list or like a missing pieces page for like census records, you don't have to scroll all the way down. Just click Control F on your keyboard, type in your location, it'll take you straight there.
A very good tip.
It's jolly good. Should we do question of the week?
I think it's that time.
Cool. If you've not answered question of the week yet, everybody, it's which of your female ancestors would you give a medal to and why? And we did actually have a few of these submitted in advance as well. Let me just find those because I did pull those out earlier. So Sylvia says, not my ancestors, but somebody else's. The working class women I have found giving evidence to the Royal Commission on Vaccination in 1891 and 1892. Very unusual for this to happen. Feisty women. Hashtag Women's History Month. Thank you, Sylvia. That was a great one. Do you want to read William's out?
Where's William? Sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
No, I've got him. Don't worry, William, I've got you. So William says, my maternal great-grandmother for simply having to keep the family together whilst they travelled the globe in the 1920s and 30s, looking after the children at home during World War II, not knowing how the older children were doing as they were a very long way from home in the Far East, then having to bury one child who died in the RAF, plus dealing with her husband who had also become ill, having very little money to support the large family, and somehow keeping it all together. Fantastic.
Amazing. This is the thing. I think, as I was saying earlier with the Quaker Women's Petition, because it's such a rare example of women in any records that isn't, that's not a vital record or a census record. When we do hear stories of really cool women before women really had many rights, it's just really nice to hear. So I love these stories. I'm going to scroll all the way back up and just see if I've missed any questions of the week. So just bear with me a moment while I sort of ramble and scroll at the same time. There was a question for you, actually, Liam, while I'm doing that. I can't remember who it's from because I've scrolled all the way back up now. But where in Scotland are your ancestors from?
Yeah, I can see Karen's asked that. So I'm from Murrayshire. And so all my family are Murrayshire, Aberdeenshire there. So all didn't travel very far. So yeah, all pretty localised up that northeast direction.
We once thought we were related, didn't we? Because I think I found a Boyle in my family tree.
You dodged a bullet there.
I was actually exploring the Irish side of my family tree because I have ancestors from what is now Northern Ireland. But I don't think my ancestor did marry a Boyle. I think they married somebody else, and I think I was just confused. But yeah, never mind. That would have been really nice. Anya says, my nana, 100%, she would give a medal too. She was apparently the first lady to take her employer to court in Scotland over equal pay.
Love to see it.
We do love to see it. If you do spot any in the comments, Liam, please just add them on screen. Georgia, my great-grandmother, Margaret Blythe, who brought up 7 children on her own. Sadly, she lost 2 sons in the First World War. It's just unimaginable what parents had to go through then as well. Here's a good one from Karen. My third times great grandmother, Anne Isabel Wright, who took over running cheesemongers in London around 1850 after her husband died, and she was raising 6 children at the same time. When her eldest was old enough to take over, she moved to run the publishers with her sister and publish some of her father's school. She sounds amazing, Karen. I would have loved to have met. Okay, I'm still scrolling.
I like this one here. Here we got Moira. My nana, because she had 14 children, including a set of twins who all survived, lived in cramped conditions, and I think she deserves a medal the size of the dinner plate. I like things like that. Nothing doesn't have to be anything that's extraordinary or out of this world. Just getting by. It must have been so hard. 14 kids, you can imagine that. So things like that I really like, as I say, just for doing the job.
Yeah, and not just a regular medal for that, but one this sort of size.
Well, 14 children, you can imagine the size of the dinner plate should have had.
Well, exactly. Here's a good one from Paul. My medal would be for longevity. I found my Aunt Barb's sister on the 1921 census yesterday. She was 5. She's still with us and will be 106 in April. Wow. Next time you see her, say "Find my past," say hello, because we think she's epic. Okay, coming from Jane here. My maternal great grandmother. I want to know who was my grandmother's father. She was born illegitimate. She had 2 younger sisters who were also illegitimate, but they know who. But you know who the father was for them. Amazing.
And what about you, Ellie? Have you got one in mind?
Oh, for me, I've talked about her many times before. I would probably say my 2 times great grandmother, Kate. She was a sub postmistress. And I was talking about this the other week, actually. I thought on the 1911 census that she filled herself out as the head of the household. But I went back and checked it, and it's actually her hubby that has filled it out, because he signed it and it's the same handwriting, but he still put her as the head, which I sort of love.
That's really cool.
Lovely. Okay, I think we should probably move on, but do keep your questions of the week coming in, and we'll try and get to as many as we can. But we do have one more segment to get through, which is in case you missed it, because we add so many records to Find My Past every single week that sometimes it's really, really simple and easy to forget that we already have so many already on the website. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at some ones that we've already got and why I think they might be useful for your research. And don't get me wrong, not everything we highlight is going to be useful for everybody, but maybe next time for you. And I think sometimes when you hit a brick wall, and maybe you feel the same, Liam, all you need is that one clue from some obscure little record set or an obscure little newspaper that you never would have thought of checking. You find that clue, and then that just opens doors.
Those are the best clues.
Those are the best clues. Okay, I do have some... Okay. What on earth did I... Oh yeah, that was the census. Okay, so we're going to talk about trade union records, because trade union records are pretty cool. Now, we've got lots of trade union records on Find My Past, actually. We've got them we've got smaller ones. So we've got things like for Hampshire, for Dundee, for the motor trade. But I'm going to look at one of the largest ones we have, which is the Britain Trade Union Membership Registers. And if you put into practice what Liam just told you about the All Record Sets page, you'll be able to find them really easily. How would they be able to find them, Liam?
All record sets.
Exactly. And if you head over there and you literally just type in the word trade, you will find them. So this particular record set has over 3 million records. It was digitized in partnership with the Modern Record Centre, which is part of the University of Warwick. It covers 26 different unions. And the records can include things like admission books, annual reports, membership lists. You can find out if your ancestor was married or transferred to another branch, maybe moved from one town to another. You can get clues like that. And I've just put on screen here some of the details that you can find. But before we talk about them in any great detail, what actually is a trade union? So I think the important thing to note is that trade unions have played quite an important role in British society for a long time, even more so since the development of capitalism. And in the late 19th and early 20th centuries, trade unions grew, especially since the repeal of something called the Combination Act in 1824. So this actually made it illegal for workers to join together to demand things like better working conditions or better wages, for example. And since the repeal of that act, the unions have expanded their memberships and they have done a lot of work for their own workers, if that makes sense. So they were a way to create some sort of united front for workers in their industries to improve their conditions, improve things like their wages, and to establish a voice for people who may not have had one. And in the years leading up to the First World War, we saw a huge rise in Britain in trade union activity and memberships, strikes, things like that. So yeah, those are trade unions. Really, really interesting, actually. I don't know a great deal about them. I'm sure there'll be people in the comments, people watching today who will know much, much more than me. So yeah, in terms of what you can find about your ancestor, I've touched on this already, but you can find things like details about individual members, payments made, any benefits they received. You can sometimes get the name of their spouse. Some of the unions publish profiles about their members or those who held office. You can also follow their progress within the union as to their membership details. You can see when they joined, when they left, why they left. And you also get details about people who held posts within the trade unions themselves, so people like secretaries. You get things like dates of meetings, and you sometimes get minutes as well, which is really, really cool. And I'll just flick over to the next slide as well, because I just want to talk about some of the unions and the countries that are covered, because it does cover an awful lot of trades, actually. I come from a family of railway workers, actually, on my mum's side. A lot of them worked on the railways. So I can find them in these records, which is really, really cool. But there's so many others as well. Paper makers, publishers, correctors of the press, insurance workers. There's loads to explore there. I don't know whether you would have any ancestors in these records, Liam. Have you ever looked?
Nah, I was all very much agricultural labourers and farmers up north there, so I think they were quite happy keeping to themselves up there.
There is a general workers union as well. I don't think these records include all unions that ever existed. It's just these are the ones that are in these records. So if your ancestor worked in any one of these industries during these times in one of these countries, you may be missing a trick by not checking them. Now, I did just want to have a look at some examples. So I had a look at, I had to search overthrow. It's my go-to. This is actually my maternal grandfather's side, but then my railway workers were actually mainly on my maternal grandmother's side. Anywho, so this is Albert Edward Overthrow, and the search results tell me that he was born in 1897 and he was admitted into the Gloucester 2 branch of the railway workers in 1915. So before even going and opening this record with my free trial or my subscription, I got these details. So let's have a flick forward. So this is the transcript. There's loads of detail here. So it tells me he was 18 when he joined the union. He was a carriage cleaner in the National Union of Railwaymen. That's quite cool. Loads of cool detail there. And this is the original document, which basically lists all the members. So it tells me that it tells me which railway he worked on. Now, I didn't have enough time to look into this. Some of you guys may know better than me, but he seemed to work for GH Railway. That'll probably be Gloucestershire something. I need to look into that a little bit further. And apparently on the next page, it tells me that he was excluded from the union in late 1920 in December. Again, I haven't had time to go into as to why he was excluded from the union. It's possible he left the industry. And then, you know me, I had to go and find out a little bit more because I can't stop myself, apparently. So I actually found him on the 1911 census, and this is with his parents, Charles Leonard and Kate Overthrow. So yeah. And at the time he was 14, he was working in an iron foundry, which is just amazing. Important to note as well with these records, it can be quite clear when a person moved around, especially if you're looking at somebody with quite an unusual name. Luckily, I do have unusual names. I'd also have Joneses and Evanses and Smiths. I do just want to point that out. Because you get a name moving from union to union and you see the years changing. So that way you can sort of track your ancestors' movements. Also, in the quarterly, half-year and annual reports, we see people who have left. And normally the reasons that are given are things like they retired, they left the trade, or they were in arrears, which means they were behind with their payments. And no matter which one of those that you find for your ancestor, that gives you a little clue as to how they were doing. So were they able to retire? Left the trade? Was there just not enough work for them? Did they move? If they were in arrears, they would have been struggling financially. So each of those is a little clue. So hopefully, if any of you guys check these out over the weekend, I'm hoping that one little clue will be a little springboard to move you on past the little brick wall, for example. And if you do have ancestors in any of these trades, please do give them a try and let us know next week what you've found. There we go. Thank you very much. I will get rid of my slides. There we go. What do you think, Liam? Do we like the trade union records?
Yeah, brilliant. I think it's one of those things, I remember looking at them a good while ago, and I think in my head I thought it was going to be like name, member on this year, and that was it kind of thing. But like you say, there's so much in there that you can get, like say, tracking movements in between census years, marriages, all this sort of thing. There's so much detail in them that you wouldn't necessarily expect when you hear the record set. So no, a brilliant one. Like say, hopefully there's some good stuff out there for the community.
That's a really valid point, actually, because census records are only a 10-year snapshot. I think just looking at census records in isolation is sometimes a mistake. You do need to go and look at other records to sort of fill in those gaps. And you might find an ancestor who seems to have been in Gloucestershire all their life. And then, you know, you find them on other records and you find them actually moving around and changing jobs and things like that. Yes, let's go back to the comments, shall we? We've got lots of comments here. Thank you, Ellie. You've just given me an idea on how to find my great-grandfather who is elusive in the censuses. Let us know how you get on. I really, really want to hear about that. Yes, some people saying about the railways, about how it could be Great Western. GH Railway seems to be Ghana. I may have misread it. It could be it was really hard to read. It probably is Great Western, to be fair. Any comments you want to pick out, Liam?
I quite like Anya's here. She thinks she had family involved in the illegal combination. So that's something.
Yeah. Who's been to the archives today? Matthew's been to the archives today. Radio the 1921 census for a few people and then a search in 17th century records in Chancery. That sounds really good fun. I'm actually hoping to visit the National Archives later on in March. Fingers crossed. If I do end up going, I think I might have to go on a day that it's closed though, so I won't be able to meet any of you guys. But yeah, super exciting stuff that we're doing with some people at the National Archives. Here's a question of the week from Karen. My mum's paternal grandma, like me, she was a single mum who admitted herself to the workhouse in 1898, pregnant, gave birth the next day. She had another child in 1899 who sadly died in 1902. My granddad lives with his grandmother while his mum was in service. and it's looking like she died by 1911. We love Karen's paternal grandma. We love her. Have we got any more questions of the week that we've missed? One from Janet. My paternal grandmother, 9 children, goodness me, brought up her nephew as well. The family home was also the business premises of my grandfather. She had 2 lodgers. She liked her glass of stout, and I think she deserved it. Do you know what? I really wish I had stout in here, but I am raising a glass, and hopefully you will too, Liam.
And women after me, one heart.
Yeah, to all of your amazing female ancestors. That's, this is actually just water, everybody. That's all that's in here. There's no stout. I can't even pretend it's gin. Gin later. Fantastic. So, Liam, what do we think as your first Friday's live session?
Yeah, I think it was good. Obviously, with your help, but no, it was good. Really interesting. Some great comments. Again, thank you very much for having me, you and the community. And yeah, looking forward to the next one.
Yeah, fantastic, isn't it? There's a good question from Daphne here, actually. Maybe with your customer support head on, you can answer it. Oh, I've lost it. Here we go. First time as a newspaper article. However, I downloaded it. It was a bit pixelated. Is this normal?
So it is normal. So when you're viewing them on the website, you can use our deep zoom feature, which allows you to kind of go right into the newspaper page without losing too much of the quality. But then when you download that, it will just be a standard PDF kind of file. So, these old newspapers, 5 or 6 columns wide, tiny little text. So it can be really hard sometimes to read your article. So it depends what you're using. What I like to do on Windows is there's something called the snipping tool. Might need to do a wee back to basics on that in the future, because that's something that you can take a screenshot of a particular part of the page. So if you open up your newspaper page, zoom into your article, and then you can use the snipping tool to take a much higher quality cutting of that article. So I'd recommend having a look into that, Daphne, something like the snipping tool.
Great, thank you very much. Victoria asking where my daffodil mug is. Oh no, I have a ring light, and it basically short circuits every now and then. It also short circuits my second screen, so bear with me a moment while I turn my second screen back on. But in any case, where is my daffodil mug? Well, I've got to represent Victoria. Maybe next week. Oh, wait, it's Jen next week. We've got Jen. Oh, I am doing a session next week, though. That's really important to mention. So there's no Wednesday session next week, everybody, but there is a Tuesday session because it's International Women's Day. And I'm going to do a bit of a deep dive on all the really, really cool women in the 1921 census. So make sure you tune in for that. I may do it live. I may pre-record it. I will see what my schedule is like for Monday, Tuesday next week. We will see. This one was very tame, says Roxanne. This is the thing, Roxanne. We don't want to scare Liam off.
I don't want to scare you off either, equally.
I don't think the community are easily scared. Lovely. Oh, so many lovely comments saying that you've done a good job today as well, which is really nice. Anya said it was possibly you who helped with my Find My Past subscription problem. So thankful. I did give you a nice shout out on here when you sorted it. I think I remember that.
Oh, yeah. I remember you mentioned that. Yeah. You're very welcome, Anya. Just do my job.
Oh, and Janet says she just found a railway ancestor in the trade union records. He was a guard.
Wasting no time getting into them, Janet.
Amazing. This is sometimes what happens, actually, Liam. We talk about certain records and then the comments go really quiet because everybody's looking at the record.
You're right.
Exactly. Yeah, I think we'll... I'm just worried he'll expect it to be this calm next time, then he'll bolt.
We'll see. You might never see me again, Roxanne. We'll see.
I think you should prepare your dad jokes for next time. Daphne says you need a light. I will order you a ring light, Liam. Like me.
Thanks, Daphne.
Because if we turn my ring light off, it's really dark. There we go.
You get me the good gear off early.
Lovely. I think we'll leave it there for today. Let's just thank you so much, everybody, for joining. Thank you for being so nice to Liam on his first week. You don't have to be as nice next time.
Give me a few weeks. Let's give me a few weeks.
Any words of wisdom before we sign off, Liam?
Just want to say thanks again for having me. And like you say, thanks for easing me in.
Lovely. Well, have a gorgeous weekend, everybody. Look after yourselves. Do something that you enjoy, whether it's a bit of family history or if it's, gardening, watching your favourite film. I feel like we all might need a little bit of sort of cheering up at the moment, with the news being what it is. But for anybody tuning into Roots Tech, enjoy. Only comes around once a year, so enjoy. And we will see you next week. Take care.